Hi, very good morning, students. Once again, welcome you to the class on software engineering. We started our discussion on the activities involved in requirement elicitation and analysis in the previous class. And we know that these activities, elicitation and analysis, is an iterative task. The various steps are requirement discovery, requirement classification and organization, requirements prioritization and negotiation, requirements specification. There are different techniques used for requirement elicitation of software. Interviews, scenarios, and use cases are these three different techniques used for the requirement elicitation. The interview can be formal or informal with the stakeholders. The interview can be closed interview or open interviews. That is, closed interview means stakeholders answers a predefined set of questions, whereas open interviews there is no predefined agenda. Interviews are good for getting an overall understanding of what stakeholders do, how they might interact with the new system, and the difficulties they face with the current system. But it can be difficult to elicit domain knowledge through interviews. Effective interviewers are open minded, avoid preconceived ideas about the requirements, and are willing to listen to stakeholders. If the stakeholder comes up with surprising requirements, then they are willing to change their mind about the system. We had discussed the interview technique for the requirement elicitation. Now, scenario technique. What is scenario for the requirement elicitation? People usually find it easier to relate to real life examples rather than abstract descriptions. They can understand and criticize a scenario of how they might interact with a software system. Requirements engineers can use the information gained from this discussion to formulate the actual system requirements. Scenarios can be particularly useful for adding detail to an outline requirements description. They are descriptions of example interaction sessions. Each scenario usually covers one or a small number of possible interactions. Different forms of scenarios are developed and they provide different types of information at different levels of detail about the system. A scenario starts with an outline of the interaction. During the elicitation process, details are added to this to create a complete description of that interaction. At this most general, a scenario may include a description of what the system and users expects when the scenario starts, then a description of the normal flow of events in the scenario, then a description of what can go wrong and how this is handled. Then a scenario can include information about other activities that might be going on at the same time, and the description of scenario of the system states when the scenario finishes. A scenario may be written as text supplemented by diagrams, screenshots, etc. Alternatively, a more structured approach such as event scenarios or use cases may be used. Understanding different viewpoints is an important step or key strength in requirement analysis so that it recognizes multiple perspectives and provides a framework for discovering conflicts in the requirements proposed by different stakeholders. We can use use cases for this purpose. Let us understand in detail about use cases. Use cases are a requirements discovery technique that were first introduced in the objectory method by Jacobson in 1993. They have now become a fundamental feature of UML, that is Unified Modeling Language. In their simplest form, a use case identifies the actors involved in the interaction and names the type of interaction. Use cases is then supplemented by additional information describing the interaction with the system. The additional information may be a textual description or one or more graphical models such as UML sequence or state charts. So in this figure, actors looks like these stick figures, and each class of interaction is represented as named ellipse. The set of use cases represents all possible interaction in the system requirement. In this diagram, we are representing the use cases for the library system. The different actors are library user, book supplier, then library staff. Different types of interactions are represented with the named ellipse. Here, article search, article printing, user administration, and catalog services are the different class of interactions. Then the different type of interaction by different actors to the different ellipse are represented with the arrow mark. Remember, these arrows have directions, sometimes bidirectional, sometimes unidirectional.